The following is a conversation with Joe Byrne, Director of Business Development and Strategy at SciPlay, one of the world's biggest and most successful social casino game companies. The conversation was facilitated in partnership with AppAnnie, who is currently rolling out an update to their gaming taxonomy. But I wanted to find out how the most sophisticated game companies use market intelligence data to inform their product strategy. How given new changes because of things like IDFA deprecation, for example, would create new requirements for the kinds of insights from the data that we look for, and ending the conversation with strategic insights on how the social casino genre is evolving and new trends for that genre. Just to be clear, this is not a paid content sponsorship, but I would like to express much appreciation to AppAnnie for introducing and facilitating this conversation. This is the Gamemakers podcast, and here's my conversation with Joe Byrne from SciPlay. Hello, everyone. We're here today with Joe Byrne, Director of Business Development and Strategy at SciPlay. Very excited to be talking with you, Joe. And we are here today to talk about the social casino genre, how it's evolving, and how AppAnnie data can be used to inform strategy and decision-making. But before we jump into some additional questions, Joe, I thought we could start by having you talk a little bit about yourself and your role at SciPlay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here. As you mentioned, I'm the Director of Business Development and Strategy here at SciPlay. That takes a number of different initiatives, but generally speaking, kind of any corporate strategy projects that we might undertake comes through me in some form. I also handle all of our partner relations, so with folks like AppAnnie, but also like our platform like Google and Apple. And a lot of my role hinges on M&A evaluation and leading that process as well.
Right. And so I thought as a first question, we could talk about maybe your use of AppAnnie data in social casino. Could you talk about maybe some of the key applications or how you're using the data today?
Yeah, for sure. From my perspective, personally, as I said, a lot of my role is in the M&A space and evaluating different opportunities. And so the kind of taxonomy and game IQ that AppAnnie provides has made it super simple for me and some of my colleagues to go in quickly and say, okay, what is the size of, let's say, the card genre, for example, or the board genre, or solitaire, things like that. And what are the top players in that market, and how concentrated the revenues are and the downloads are. Is it dominated by a few top players? Is it very fragmented? All those sort of things, we can kind of get a very quick view of through the game IQ and taxonomy reports. Our teams use it looking more internally. So our game teams and our product teams in particular are looking more at, how their title is performing against some other competitors, looking at the annotations on the graph and saying, okay, this competitor did a release on this date. Look what happened to their revenue or their downloads. What are they doing? Kind of that competitive intelligence type aspect. And then, of course, we have a lot of our UA folks that are looking more in ASO and keywords and creatives and things like that. So, we have a number of different use cases throughout our organization, kind of depending on what discipline you sit in.
Right. I kind of agree with you in terms of like when we look at some of the changes that AppAnnie has been making at the genre and subgenre level, like that additional layer of granularity for me makes it a lot more useful because you're getting much more specific competitive sets.
Yeah, no question.
And I thought the other thing we could talk about was one of the things that AppAnnie has been trying to do, and one of the reasons why they talked to me was to try and determine how to make the AppAnnie data more actionable. And so just kind of as a hypothesis that I have when I think about the social casino genre is like one thing I thought would be interesting would be to look at, for example, how with IDFA deprecation, how pre and post IDFA deprecation, whether payment behavior and the payment profile, whether it's payment payer buckets or things of that nature changes because you're no longer potentially able to target super high value whales
Yeah.
in a post IDFA deprecation world. And so wondering if that's actually an application that you guys are thinking about or how useful that would be in social casino.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you bring up a great point with IDFA and iOS 14.5. I mean, it's a huge shift in the industry. To be honest, we're still figuring out the long-term effects of it. We've done some testing and of course have a little bit of idea, but it's still pretty early in the stages. And so we would take a lot of that data to make kind of informed decisions on, you referenced it a little bit, Joe, on pre and post and how potential player and payer behaviors have changed. And so, for example, we might see post IDFA deprecation, there was a lot more spenders, but at a lower level, for example. So our transaction size has decreased, and then we can take that data to our product teams and say, okay, what are some features that we can develop that we can spec out to target that area to improve our average transaction size, for example, or improve our sessions per day, or number of transactions per user, things like that. And so I think that data, could be super actionable, particularly for our product teams as they think about their roadmap going forward in this post IDFA world.
Right. Okay, great. And besides like whether it's IDFA deprecation related or not, are there other things that you guys are thinking about with respect to the usage of the data in terms of making it more actionable?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned kind of a little bit about our product teams and looking at that kind of competitive analysis. What are some of the top players doing, and how does that differ from what we have in the game? And we take that and we can set up dashboards and alerts and things like that, which is a great way to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening competitively. But that data. Generally, outward looking is something that our product teams take and review where these new changes in our competitors took hold. Is it a geographic boost? Is it a download boost? Is it a revenue boost? Is it a platform boost in terms of Google versus iOS? So all those things, are really important and allow us to take that data and literally put it actionable, put it in our roadmap, our product roadmap, whether that's next quarter or 2 quarters down the road, to attack some of those spots in our games that could use improvement.
Okay, great. And so I thought we could now talk a little bit more about like the evolution of social casino. I think one thing that we saw, especially during COVID and over 2020, was the kind of explosion in people wanting to have social experiences in gaming. And so wondering if you could talk about within social casino, where do you see social experiences within this genre going in the future?
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty early, I think, in a lot of these social experiences for the social casino genre in particular. You see it a little bit more in some mid-core and some RPG type games. But, I think there's tons of potential, particularly when you think about like multiplayer. A lot of people go into their favorite brick and mortar casino with a friend or a group of friends, and they sit around at a bank of slot machines and play next to their friend and say, hey, how are you doing on this machine? How's that machine going? And I think that would be a really cool, creative way that social casino companies, slots in particular, could use those kind of multiplayer aspects and social experiences. And then that evolves even more, when you think about like teams or clubs, guilds, those sort of things. Again, something that you see a lot more in kind of the mid-core type games. You saw like Clash of Clans really make this popular, and joining, a particular clan. You can form these in social casino as well, and have some competition there. And we found, the competitive nature of really any genre is a very powerful thing for our players. So I think there's a ton of room to grow, in that implementation of social experiences within the social casino category.
Got it. And maybe just as a last question, like we're starting to see the integration of meta features in social casino, and wondering if you could speak to this trend in particular, whether you think it continues and grows, or what do you generally expect to see along those lines?
Yeah, another good question. I mean, similar to what I was just mentioning, I think the social casino genre has lagged behind a little bit in some of our other adjacent genres of promoting kind of these meta features. And one you think about is like a progression system. A lot of games you're seeing now like a map or a way for the player to earn kind of a status as they go. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that going forward. Just if you think about in the casino space in particular, maybe you go into a casino and you win at a slot machine and you get to build a casino, and then you get to own another casino, and you kind of think about this almost builder mechanic that's super popular in other games like Gardenscapes and Homescapes, kind of in the more casual space. So I think there's a lot of ways that you really can create those meta features within casino that we haven't seen yet. I know even thinking about live operations, that was something that the social casino industry was pretty new to just 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, but had really taken hold in some other genres. I think that's kind of the precursor to more of these meta progression and storyline type implementations that I think will be really successful in the social casino genre.
All right, Joe Byrne, thank you very much for your time. There we have it. Joe Byrne from SciPlay. Thank you very much for your time and insights.
Thanks for having me.